Daniel, I know that the parts and materials are extremely important to MROs, and I wanted to talk about the subject of inventory optimization. Just want to start off by saying, how much of an impact does the variable cost of materials have on an MRO operation?
Well, that's actually an interesting question, and I think we should try to distinguish a little bit, because I mean the variable cost or the material cost will be usually passed on to the airline. So if we talk about base maintenance or line maintenance, what's happening is actually that the line maintenance provider or whoever, they will buy on behalf, or maybe even the airline will provide the material, which will be then put on the aircraft for replacement or for repairs. I think that the key here is more on the engines and on the components or landing gears or accessory repairs. More so in order for moving forward to review the inventory and how to optimize inventory, because as we move forward, what will be more and more crucial will be the on-time performance or the reduction of TAT. And material will cost what it will cost. The OEM is going to dictate a list price, and that's going to be paid. So unless you have so where you can really save is in your supply chain, in the whole process of, procuring the part. How do you procure the part? How do you manage the parts? Do you have the right parts on the shelf? Because when it gets costly is when you do not have the right parts on the shelf. And that's where it gets tricky. There are organizations out there I've seen they do still inventory management on an Excel sheet, and they manage their inventory on Excel. But if you ask them, okay, so what's your turnover rate on certain components or on certain C&E materials, or what's your cost of loans? Right? If you're an airline, there are airlines out there, they just send out a loan exchange order and rectify the material deficiencies through that. But raising out a loan order and paying it is actually the most expensive way of providing inventory. So you might as well buy a unit. But then there's the question, how do you do that?
So one follow-up question that I want to flip this over to Nick. Follow-up question is that how often does the unavailability of materials or the lack of availability of a part and component in the maintenance process affect the delivery of the aircraft or the TAT? How often does that happen?
Well, actually quite a bit. I would say that it's more often than not. And like, Daniel said, it's really one of those things that if you don't understand what you have in inventory, or if you can't meet a customer need, of course, COVID's a big, impact today, as, there's parts not being able to be delivered, as there's parts not being made, right? We don't have the personnel out there, doing both of these activities. I would say it's huge. Ramco specifically has a lot of capability digitally for, inventory optimization when it comes to seeing what you have real time, those turnaround times like Daniel mentioned. A lot of that is key when it comes to, a good, successful operation. Like I said, it's one of those things, but to really hone in on the question, I think that it happens a lot more frequently than we know. And I know that, it's a very competitive market out there today. If, you had a tier 1 versus tier 2 operator or MRO per se, and, you find that you kind of, for, quality of service or turnaround times, whatever the case may be, well, it's starting to be very, very competitive, and you're starting to get different pricing structures and different, and it's all about where the parts are today within the market.
Okay. Well, really good. So that's interesting, guys, because I immediately, honed in on price when we were talking about optimization, and immediately, Daniel, you told me, okay, well, price is certainly interesting, but it gets passed on to the customer. But when you're talking about, logistics and optimization of delivery, as well as optimization of inventory levels and things like that, to ensure that you have the right place at the right part at the right place at the right time. So that's really interesting. Okay. And Nick, it's interesting to see that I know that Ramco is really focused on the logistics component of their systems to be able to provide that real-time visibility that you talked about, and really help people to be able to optimize their access to materials and get those to the right place at the right time.